beneath the constant roar of our modern world, hidden under layers of concrete and steel. A completely different world breathes in silence. It's a world no sunlight has touched for thousands upon thousands of years, a place lost to time itself. This is the story of archaeologist Mira Das and the discovery that would change everything. She thought she knew about human history. When Myra first arrived in the quiet, almost forgotten rural town of Kelstrom, she had a simple task ahead of her: map a supposedly ordinary cave system. But Kelstrom held a secret far deeper than anyone imagined. On her very first day of surveying, her equipment detected an anomaly deep beneath the forest floor. After hours of careful digging, her shovel struck something hard. It wasn't rock. It was a massive carved stone doorway, buried deep in the earth, sealed shut with symbols and glyphs older than any known civilization on Earth. The locals had always been wary of that part of the forest. They told her strange stories, whispering that the ground talked at night, that it held memories best left undisturbed. But for an archaeologist like Mira, warnings like that are an invitation. Curiosity for her had always been a much louder voice than fear. She had to know what was behind that door. With a team and heavy equipment, she managed to unseal the ancient entrance. A gust of cold, stale air rushed out, carrying a scent of damp earth and something else. Something ancient and unknown. On the first night she spent camped near the entrance, she heard it. A faint tapping sound, echoing from the darkness below. It wasn't random, like falling rocks. It was rhythmic, deliberate, almost like a message being tapped out from the deep. The next morning, she descended alone. The further she went, the heavier the air became. It didn't just feel old, it felt lived in. The natural cave wall slowly gave way to smoothly carved stone, the passage widening into an immense cavern. And then she saw it, stretching out before her, swallowed by an absolute darkness her powerful headlamp could barely pierce, was a city. An entire city carved from a single seamless block of obsidian black stone. There were homes with empty doorways, grand temples reaching up into the gloom, and stairways that spiraled down into even deeper blackness. Everything was pristine, frozen in a state of eternal night. There were no signs of war, no evidence of disaster. It was as if every single inhabitant had simply vanished in the middle of their day. As Mayra ventured deeper into the silent streets, a deeply unsettling feeling began to creep over her. In the periphery of her light, she saw shadows that didn't belong to her. They flickered and danced in ways that defied the physics of light, moving when she stood perfectly still. Then came the voices. Faint at first, like the wind whistling through a tunnel. But they grew clearer. Whispers echoed from distant corridors, speaking in a language she had never heard before, yet somehow, on a primal level, she understood. The whispers told a story. They spoke of a vibrant, thriving society that had sought refuge underground when the surface world was consumed by a cataclysm of fire. They were survivors who had built a new world in the dark. For centuries, they flourished, evolving in the absence of the sun. They created beautiful art, haunting music, and complex rituals, all performed in the quiet sanctity of their subterranean home. Their entire culture was built around the darkness that protected them. But the whispers also told of why they disappeared. Myra found a colossal mural etched into the wall of the main temple. It didn't depict a great flood of water, but a flood of light. A blinding, searing torrent pouring down from a breach in the cavern ceiling. For this civilization, the sun wasn't a source of life, it was a lethal poison. Their bodies had adapted to utter darkness over millennia. The mural showed the tragic truth. Ages ago, another group of explorers from the surface had broken through. The light from their simple torches and lanterns was enough to destroy the inhabitants in mere minutes. The light was their apocalypse. On her final night in the city, Myra felt an overwhelming sense of grief emanating from the very stones around her. The whispers grew louder, more urgent. They weren't frightening anymore. They were mournful, filled with an ancient sorrow. The voices were pleading with her, begging her to leave, to seal their tomb and protect their memory from the world above. With a heavy heart, she honored their wish. As she climbed back to the surface and stepped into the daylight, a deep rumble shook the ground. Behind her, the great stone doorway collapsed, sealing the obsidian city forever. Weeks passed. Myra was back in her lab, trying to make sense of her impossible discovery. She started reviewing the audio recordings from her helmet camera, hoping to catch some evidence of the whispers. She listened for hours, hearing nothing but the crunch of her boots and her own steady breathing. But then, in a moment of absolute silence between her breaths, she heard it, crystal clear. A single soft whisper right in her ear. It spoke her name. Myra. She ripped the headphones off, her heart pounding. The voice hadn't come from the recording of the cave. It wasn't an echo from the past. It felt present, immediate. It wasn't behind her. It wasn't in the room. It was from below. The lost city was gone, buried once more beneath the earth, but its people, they were not. And somehow they still knew her name. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the dark. What do you think happened to Mira? Let me know your theories in the comments below. And if you love stories that explore the unknown, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss where we're going next.